finally, after maybe years of dreaming about it, we are finally working on the roof. This is the first roof that we are building out of 3. This is the one that goes above the double height, so let's get to work.
Notice how we are putting 2 2x12s on these rafters, and that's not necessarily required by the engineer. It's not specified. You can use 1. But the reason for that is because the lookouts, or what we call wings, what extends outside of the roof on the sides, they will be connecting to these double rafters, and they are being connected via connectors. So I want those connectors to have enough meat for the nails to go through and have a better holding power. Something interesting that it is actually required by the engineer is that this rim board extends into the house at least 4 feet and then 2 feet outside of the house. So we have seen this before in the cantilevers. Cantilevers are built the exact same way. They have a 2:1 ratio, and so then to the inside they connect to the rafters, 2x12s that I was mentioning with connectors. Then they extend 2 feet outside of the roof, and then they have H3 ties. When we had the Coffman guys on site, we learned incredible information, mainly related to how they laid out the subfloor and the floor system and all that stuff. But I think this clearly applies to the roof, because the roof is basically another floor system, except it's just at the very top. So what we are doing right here is that we are actually nailing the rafters before we put the connectors. And by doing this, we guarantee that the rafters are perfectly flat where they need to go. And then by coming in later and then applying the connectors, things are working out amazingly. Another thing we have, and that is a requirement from the engineer as well, is to put ledger locks every 16-inch on center. So basically, you might see here that we have the layout lined up to the studs on the wall behind us. But this is a little bit interesting because the roof is coming in at a layout of 24-inch on center, while the ledger locks come in at 16-inch on center. So that means they overlap every so often. So when they overlap at the connector, I typically skip those. And then when we have additional studs like thicker walls or whatnot, I put double ledger locks that might be closer than 16-inch on center. So that's how we're meeting that requirement. So I'm up here by the lookouts under the roof, basically. So the roof has a slope of 1/4 inch per foot, and the roof is actually 8 foot long, so that gives us 2 inches. So this rim board was set 2 inches higher from the top of the wall. So, but another very interesting thing is actually that the lookouts have a layout of 24-inch on center. So what that means is this first lookout has a difference in height from the top of the wall of 1.5 inches. So this works out beautifully because we are able to put 2x right here to get us the proper height. And the reason for that is so that these lookouts can sit properly at level with respect to the rest of the roof. So if we continue to walk through the different lookouts, we have a 1 inch difference right here. So we end up putting 2 sheets of 7/16, about 1 inch. And then on the next lookout, we put 1 single sheet, so about 1/2 inch. And then at the very front, there's no need for additional spacing. So this way, all of them can sit perfectly flat and flush to the rest of the roof. Finally, let me do some talk about the blocking itself. The blocking is using these A35s that are actually like 3-dimensional. I've used this before on the shed, and we'll be using this at a later time significantly in the roof. And then obviously every single lookout we decided to put an H3 tie for basically for the wind, because the wind is pretty rough right here. Cool, I want to show you this interesting detail right here, because we have this micro roof that extends about 6 feet into the main house, and then it protects 2 feet. So this micro roof, you might notice that the rim board is actually flat. And then as soon as we make it into the main flat roof, we actually have a slope of 1/4 inch per foot. Another interesting thing here is that we have a double fascia, if you will, or technically we have 2 2x12s at the very edge of this roof. And the reason for that is so that we can properly attach all the different details related to this micro roof. All right, so now we're on the other side of the flat roof, and here is where the balcony will be. As I mentioned before, there are no requirements to put multiple 2x12s other than the fascia at the other end of this of the roof. But what we decided to do here is we ended up putting a 2x12 double connector, so we ended up putting a double. But because these connectors actually have, let's say, wings to some extent, they extend a little, we ended up putting a third one, and the third one is mainly just to align properly to be flush to the edge of the wall. And the reason we ended up adding more than one is so that the sheeting that's going to be going right here has a proper depth of nailing, so that there's basically more strength to everything. Tyrell from Custom Home Walls, he's also a Coffman guy. He's been coming and helping us out, and he taught us this very awesome technique to put out the fascia, because the fascia at the front is basically like a 20-foot piece of lumber, and the house at that point is about, I don't know, 6 stories high, so it can feel a little bit dangerous. So he showed us this method where we screw some lumber to the fascia, then we bring it out, and then once it's in location, we basically nail it to the rafters. So this makes it much, much simpler rather than having to hold that humongous rafter by hand.
As you can see, we're missing a couple of details right there. The first one is we're missing one of those wings, rafter, or whatever you want to call it. We waited until we had the panels in place just to make it safer. And then you'll see that we're missing panels at the end. And that is because the wall of the house ends right where we have the panels. And we wanted to do the water and air barrier protection from up here instead of hanging 30, 40 feet in the air. And now with that protection in place, we can continue our work.
this baby roof has been a bit annoying because it's hanging over here. It doesn't really, it's more aesthetic. It doesn't serve the purpose of drying or anything. But I just want to finish it so that we can say we're 100% done with this roof. I thought it would be more complex to do it, and we'll see here in a moment. But fortunately, I think somebody will be able to hold it, and then I'll be able to nail it from outside. So let's see how that goes, and let's finish this roof up.
And now we are finally done after that little piece. We actually finished this part of the roof maybe 2-3 months ago. We did it like 99.9% done, but we were missing that one. But it's always good to finish the things that you have pending. Otherwise, you end up with 99 things that are 99% done. And well, with that, this episode is pretty much done. So thank you so much for liking and subscribing, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye!